Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Games from Almost a Full Color, and I haven't done a video regarding Stadia in quite a while, so I figured, hey, what time better than now to go ahead and throw up some news and some rumors that's been swirling about the Stadia service, especially since we just had another Stadia Connect drop today. And since I'm always hammering home the convenience aspect of Stadia, I figured I'd make the video a little more convenient and add the talking points that I'm going to be covering today, as well as put the timestamps in the description, just in case there may be some topics that you're really not interested in and you don't want to have to listen through them just to get to the next one, or you don't really know what I'm going to cover. So maybe you are not interested in none of the topics and this isn't a video for you, but either way, that'll make it more convenient for you, the viewer. So with that being said, you know where to look for the information. And let's go ahead and get into a couple of these topics. All right, so first up, we want to talk about that apparently there's rumors that the Generation 2 build out of Stadia is being made available to developers. A certain developer, speaking anonymously, so you can take that how you want, but he pretty much said that they were currently working on a game for the current generation of Stadia, which we'll just call Gen 1 now. They were going through the phase of optimizing the game so that it could run, I guess, as best as they could get it to run on Stadia. And according to them, one day they came in and all of a sudden the game performance just shot up, and they had no idea what happened, why the performance got so much better, because nothing had changed from the day prior. So they reached out to Google to figure out like what could be going on. And that's when Google pretty much just told them, oh yeah, you guys are running on Generation 2 Stadia hardware right now. So they're like, oh, okay. Apparently they didn't even know that this was even in the works. And Google just decided, okay, when these guys log in probably to their, their development accounts or whatever on Stadia, that we'll just point them to the new generation hardware that I guess they're planning on rolling out sometime near the holiday season. I would assume that this is going to compete with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. And the developer also made one other mention about it, was that not only was the game they're making for Stadia, it also was being made for the Xbox Series X. I'm not sure if they were making it on PlayStation 5 as well. They didn't say that, but they did say that their game was actually performing better on the Generation 2 Stadia hardware than it was performing on the Xbox Series X. So considering we just got the Stadia service last November, so you can say it's been out for what, 5, maybe 6 months by now, and for it to be able to pretty much scale itself up to compete with next generation hardware that fast in only 5 months, without any extra cost to us, the end user, me myself still a Stadia Pro member, that's really crazy. So I can see that actually being a great thing for them moving forward, because obviously these next generation consoles is not going to be cheap, and since Google Stadia was last to the party, when the new consoles come out, it actually will work in favor for them, because now everyone's starting fresh again and no one has a built up library of games on their console. So that actually should work in Google's favor. So that really just speaks to how easy it is for Google to scale up the Stadia service, since there's actually no hardware sitting with the end user, outside of maybe if you want to use a Chromecast Ultra. But for the most part, there is no dedicated processor, GPU, all that stuff sitting with us that we need to utilize to play a game. As long as that's the case, consoles will always be stagnant. Consoles will always be stagnant the moment you get them, because then they're old. You can't increase the hardware, you can't increase the processor, you can't increase the GPU in the PS5 or the Xbox Series X once you get them. What you get is what you get. So with Stadia being a cloud-based service and we not actually having the hardware on our end, whenever Google ups it, then we just reap the benefits from it. And outside of speaking about the storage aspect, because obviously the new games are going to take up even more storage, and I've always spoke to the point of me having to constantly fight storage on my PlayStation 4 Pro with these newer games like Final Fantasy VII Remake, Red Dead. I mean, these games are over 100 gigs fresh out the box. So with only having a terabit hard drive and actually only having around 800 and so gigs of actual free space to use of that hard drive, it definitely can add up quickly. And with Stadia, you don't have that issue. Another area that's great for Stadia is, even though there are rumors they're moving to this Generation 2 hardware, that actually doesn't change the build out of Stadia as a whole. So like how we moved from the PS3 to the PS4, you know, they changed the architecture for it. So obviously they said PS3 games couldn't run on the PS4 at that time, and vice versa. So it wasn't the PS4 wasn't backwards compatible with the PS3. Generation 2 Stadia games and Generation 1 Stadia games, all the Generation 1 Stadia games will play on the Generation 2 blades, because it's still the same architecture. You're just getting better specs, so you'll just see increased performance, but they don't have to go back and tweak those games to run on the next gen hardware, which is great, because then you don't have to worry about it not being backwards compatible, because developers don't have to do any extra work, nor does Google have to do any extra work in order to make the older games work on the new hardware. All right, so our next topic is Google is actually giving away Stadia Pro membership for 2 months, for the month of April and the month of May, for absolutely free to anyone who has a Gmail account. All you have to do is, well, you can utilize the link in the description to go figure out, you know, what you need to do to sign up. You do have to put in payment information, of course, but if you cancel before June, then you don't have to worry about being charged. But this is a good opportunity for people who maybe have outdated computers, or maybe you just want to try the service just because you're interested in it, or maybe because you haven't tried it because you didn't want to have to pay any money up front. Another good thing about getting the Stadia Pro membership is that not only is it free, you also get 9 games up front that you can play without having to pay any money. So you can see here the 9 free games that you can actually claim day one once you activate your Stadia Pro membership. You'll have those for the whole month of April. You'll also get at least 2 more games for the month of May that you can claim for free as well, before you have to make that decision in June of whether you want to start paying the $10 a month. You're coming in with 9 to 11, possibly 12 if we also get 3 games in May. There has been a couple months where we've gotten 3 free games instead of 2. So this is kind of similar to the PlayStation Plus, and I'm not sure what the Xbox One is called, where they also give you free games a month. The one difference between the Stadia Pro membership and those ones is that I know for PlayStation and Xbox, you have that month to claim the free games. Outside of that month, those games aren't available anymore for you to claim for free. Now with Stadia Pro, those games are free for that month, but they are also still free on that service, usually about 2 to 3 months after the month that they're first originally offered. So if you did miss it that month, you could come back and still claim those games, that's a big plus. So it's not super FOMO, but it does give you a little bit of extra time to figure out if you want those games. Me, myself personally, I just claim them all day one, because again, there's no storage to worry about, so there's no point of not claiming them. So I just wanted to point out that currently, due to the whole coronavirus thing that's going on, is that Google is only offering Stadia on the Google Chrome browser for desktops and laptops, as well as the Chromecast Ultra for people who want to utilize their TVs to play, or any other monitor that accepts a HDMI input. They have suspended the service on the phones, probably because they're offering the 2 free months, and they want to probably bring down as much demand on the servers as possible. This doesn't really affect me because I have an iPhone and we're not compatible with it right now. But for people out there who do have Android phones, it seems like since everyone is at home doing the stay home, stay safe thing, that Google right now suspended playing on phones, which isn't a big deal to me. Maybe if that's your current only way to play, then I can see that being an issue for you, but you can still utilize the Google Chrome browser as well as the Chromecast Ultra. Now for users like myself who are current Stadia Pro members, we will just get the month of April and the month of May for no charge, so we won't have to pay the $10 for each month. So that's great. A lot of times other services will offer things and it doesn't get passed on to the current user basis. Normally only if you are a new user you get these benefits, kind of to entice you to join the community. But it's nice that they also pass that on to users like myself that we can save a little bit of money for these 2 months as well. Now, the third topic is actually not anything really big. It's actually just kind of a user interface update regarding the connection status. I actually did a video a while ago on Google Stadia where I tried to explain what the connection status is meant, because I know myself personally, I was actually really confused at the beginning. There was times that I would get an excellent status, and then on the same exact internet connection, I would get a good status. And the only thing I was doing was switching between my living room to my office room that has, my computer monitors. And I didn't understand why the connection was changing. But before this new update, the only way you could get an excellent connection was if you was using hardware that had a 4K resolution. The TV in my living room is a 4K TV, so that's why I was getting the excellent connection, because I was able to utilize the 4K resolution. When I moved into my office space, my monitors are only 1080p, and that's why I would only get the good connection rating, because the Chromecast Ultra wasn't able to push the 4K to my monitor. Which I always thought was really confusing. I don't know why they did that, but with this new update, they finally separated your connection strength and the resolution, whether you're using HDR or whether you're using the 5.1 surround sound. So now your connection strength is only based on your actual connection to the service. So now excellent would be green. You have fair, which is orange, and you have your game might stop, which is in red. So those are your 3 new connection statuses, which is based solely on your internet connection. And now over to the side of it, you'll see if you are also playing in 4K, if you're also using HDR, or if you're using the 5.1 surround sound. Again, this is nothing major, but I feel like it was just a good thing to go ahead and kind of clarify that for people who might have also been kind of scratching their heads and wondering why the deviation in their connection would happen, especially for users like myself. All right, so our fourth topic is actually talking about some Destiny 2 on the Stadia platform, or the Stadia service. For anyone who out there been playing Destiny, you know that the player base has been pretty abysmal. They've actually pulled a lot of the stats, and active players on Destiny for Stadia was around 5,000. So that's going to tell you you're not going to get many games. And well, I guess it depends on what you're doing, but obviously if you're doing a little historical content, yeah, your chances of getting groups are pretty much slim to none. But since Google has offered this new 2 free months of Stadia Pro, the player base for Destiny 2 has shot up drastically. It was 5,000 members as of April 7th, and since April 9th, it jumped from 5,000 to 30,000. So in 2 days, it saw a 25,000 player increase, which is great for people who are currently playing the game. Now, to point things out, over time, I would say over the next couple of weeks or so, that did taper off, and now it's cold and steady to around about 17,000 players. Now I know what you're thinking, that is not a lot of players, especially when you think about it in the context of how many people are on PC, how many people are on PlayStation, and how many people are on Xbox playing this game. But if you're someone who's playing it on Stadia, having that massive influx of players will definitely help you out, and it's better than nothing. So it shows that not only are people being drawn to the service because of the 2 free months, but it shows that people are also trying to hang around a little bit, I guess, to see, how much they really do like this, especially since you have 2 free months free of charge, no investment on your part, to actually play around with the service. Now, just to kind of step back and talk about the whole, there's only 17,000 people playing on Destiny right now for Stadia, and people look at that and they say, well, Stadia is dying, Stadia is a failure. And that's not really the case. I mean, it's going to be hard to get a massive player base on a game that most of us already had it on a console, or you had it on PC. So it's hard to get people to migrate over, because myself, I have I think it was around 4 to 6 people I know that we were playing the game pretty actively at one point. Now, at that time, we were all playing on a PlayStation. Some of them actually migrated over to the PC, and myself, I actually started playing on Stadia when it released, because the frame rate's just a lot better on Stadia than it is on console, and I don't have a PC that can run Destiny. So the problem with that is there's no crossplay. So even though I moved over to Stadia and I wanted to play, I did the story missions, did my grind, my level grind, all that type of stuff that I could do on my own, like strikes. But if I wanted to play with my friends, that means all of them would have to migrate over to Stadia. And that's not happening in general with anything. Even if I decided I wanted to play on Xbox, all my friends are not going to buy Xboxes to come over and play Destiny. So since the one thing we all have in common is the PlayStation, if we all want to play together, then we all have to fall back and play on the PlayStation. And that's going to make it hard for them to keep an active player base on Stadia, because you're not going to get all your friends to come over to Stadia to play Destiny with. It's just not going to happen. Which is why I spoke earlier about when these new consoles come out, that's actually going to be a good thing for Stadia, because now everyone's starting fresh. All the new games are coming out at the same time, well, hopefully, on all the platforms. And then you can really decide where you want to get that game from at the start. And you're not coming into the game late, trying to build up a player base, which usually never really happens. All right, so that brings us to the final topic of the day. Final topic is actually Stadia base, or I believe they've actually reverted to calling it just Stadia now, which is the free plan for Stadia. That actually released on April 8th. So if after your 2 months is up, if you decide that you want to stick around and, keep your Stadia membership, you can always revert to the Stadia free plan. That way you don't have to keep paying the $10 a month. But now be warned, all the games that you've claimed as a Stadia Pro member, you won't have access to them anymore unless you pay for those games. So just keep that in mind, that even though, you claim those games as a Stadia Pro member, it's no different than if you were a PS Plus member or whatever the Xbox One is called. If you drop your PlayStation Plus membership, those games that you got for free on PlayStation Plus, you can't use them until you re-up with the service. Stadia Pro is no different. So yeah, if you reverted to the free plan, you would lose access to those free games you claimed unless you went on and paid the price for those games. Also, just to keep in mind that as you're a Stadia Pro member, you can play in 4K and you can play in the 5.1 surround sound. If you do revert to the Stadia free plan, then you will get locked in at the 1080p 60 frames per second, as well as just the stereo sound. Oh, and just to mention, of course, you can play at 4K 60 frames per second when you're on Stadia Pro, just in case you thought maybe it wasn't 60 frames per second because I didn't mention it and then I decided to mention it on the 1080p. So still 60 frames per second, is just the resolution would take a hit, as well as you won't have access to the surround sound. Now, before I leave, I just wanted to say that one thing Google probably should kind of maybe think about offering is maybe we should give people who are on the Stadia free plan a free game each month, because you kind of want to keep it to where people can come in and try the game. Well, not try the game, but try the service at no cost. It's hard to get people to try a new service if they have to invest money into it. And as long as the Stadia free plan doesn't come with any games, it's not too many people that's going to come in, pay $60 just to try out your service. Especially when there's already, age-old things in place like the PlayStation and the Xbox, who have a long history. It's going to be hard to get people to kind of shake that to come over and try something different when that's a well-known thing. So maybe we should just do something where Google offers one free game a month, but you don't have access to that game after the month. So it's like a revolving free game every month, so that anyone who wants to come in, sign up for the free service, will always have one game that they can play, to figure out if they do like the service. And I feel like that would actually entice people to maybe jump up to the pro membership if they do feel like the service went well for them. Obviously, most people's interaction with the service is going to be based on your internet speed where you are. The worse your internet speed is, the worse you're going to have with Google Stadia. I mean, that's just point blank. That's how it works. It's based on your internet connection. So if you have a really bad internet connection, Stadia is not for you. But for people who do have a pretty good internet connection, like I said, you don't need anything drastic. But you do need anywhere from about 15 to 20 megabits per second to kind of really enjoy it at a good stable frame rate and a good stable resolution of about 1080p. Now, I believe it's around 35. I think it's like 35 megabits per second they recommend if you want to play in 4K. But like I said, so it depends on your internet connection. But if they do want people to try this service out, I do recommend they try to give out at least one free game a month, even to the free players. And like I said, just revolve it every month, give them something different. They actually could just pick one of the Stadia Pro games that we get free each month and give one of those to them, and then just change it every month. So that's something to think about if they want to kind of entice people to really give this thing a try, because you can come in and play on the browser and you don't have to pay any money. I mean, if you already have a laptop, you already have a desktop, no matter what the specs are, as long as you can run the Chrome browser, you could come in, log into the Stadia site, plug up one of your old controllers from your PlayStation 4, your Xbox, and you're good to go. You don't have to invest anything into the service to try it out. All right, so that's pretty much gonna wrap up this Stadia news update I guess I'm giving right now. I'm actually going to push out a video before the week is out, just to give you my thoughts on the Google Stadia Connect that we had today, see how I felt about it. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope some of this information was actually pertinent to you and it actually maybe helped you out a little bit. As always, if you like the content, please hit the like button, helps us out a lot. And if you like the channel and you want to, get more of our content, then please go ahead and subscribe. Also, make sure you hit the bell so you know when we release stuff, or else you'll just be shadow subbing us and you probably will never get to watch our videos when they come out. You always watch them when they're old or something. I don't know. But hey, I guess that's about it. Nothing else. I'm out.